In chapter 9, the author talks about whether Sai Baba is Hindu or Muslim. This mystery would always remain. So anybody who would think that he is a Hindu, he celebrated all Muslim festivals, his Veshvusha, his attire was completely Muslim. He was a meat eater, and he used to spend his company in the he would spend his time in the company of fakirs with whom he would have very different eating habits. That he is a Muslim, he did not have circumcision, but he used to recommend circumcision to his devotees. He used to discriminate in between caste, creed, religion, and he would treat all beings as equal. Even dogs would eat out of his own platter, and he would never object to that. He always used to say that God is the master, I am not God. He never used to say that he is God. He was mostly serious and very quiet. He would never indulge in arguments or any controversy. It was his nature to lose his temper once in a while. Devotees used to come from different parts of the country for healing from him, and one such devotee was having an eye trouble, which even an allopathic doctor could not. And the treatment Baba gave was totally antithetical to what allopathic doctors would have suggested. But within 24 hours, the devotee was completely healed of his eye problem. Adept in, he was a Siddh yogi, and he was he was an expert in Dhoti Kriya and Khand Yoga. And people who were then residents of Shirdi, contemporaries of his time, had seen his intestines hanging from the trees, and then he would properly clean his internal organs and then put them back in place inside his body. So that way he was he was an expert in Dhoti Kriya, an expert in Khand Yoga. And once a devotee had come to masjid, and he saw that all his body parts were everywhere around the masjid, and he got scared, and he thought that maybe he should inform the police. He informs the police will think that he has only murdered Baba, and he keeps mum. The next day when he enters the masjid, he realizes that there is Baba completely fine, and there is no problem with him. And that was one of Sai Baba's Leela. He was an expert in yoga and in all material and worldly and outworldly powers. And once Baba was sitting by the Dhuni Mai, and Dhuni Mai is a sacred fire that Baba had lit, which is still burning in Shirdi, in Dwarka Mai. And there he suddenly put his hand into the fire. And the Bhakt sitting there, they asked him, Baba, what have you done? Then he says that there was a mother somewhere, since Baba was omniscient. Far away, there was a lady who was cooking food for her husband, and when the husband called, in a jiffy, she did not realize that the child is hanging by her body, and the child slipped. And before the child slips into the wooden fire, the stove which was burning, Baba quickly put his hand and saved the child. So this shows that Baba was Antaryami, omniscient, all-knowing, present everywhere, and his powers were beyond this world. And so he saves that child, and this is one such small miracle. This Leela, there's another Leela which is running parallel. Baba gives an opportunity to a devotee who is suffering from leprosy to take care of him, because when Bhakt do seva of their Guru or their God, they are also burning their karmic debt. So, and by this, that devotee must have burnt his karmic debt, a very terrible one that too, and because he was suffering from leprosy. And then he by rendering seva to Baba, could overcome his karmic debt, And this was an opportunity Baba created for his devotee who was suffering from leprosy. And Baba never discriminated in any soul, any being. And this was an example, because leprosy during that day, lepers were treated as untouchables everywhere around the world. And Baba, being a very realized soul, a divine soul, never discriminated and banished someone who was suffering from such a terrible disease. Another incident described in chapter 9 is of a lady, Mrs. Khaperde, who gets an intimation that her son is suffering from plague, and she's so worried. And there was a hidden rule in Shirdi that everybody had to take permission or blessings of Baba before leaving Shirdi. So she goes to Baba to seek his permission, and Baba says that in his own way, that in his own cryptic language, that don't worry, the sky is overshadowed with clouds, but these clouds will wither away. And so he lifts his clothes and shows 4 egg size knots in his body and says, look how much I have to suffer for my devotees. And this is how a Sadguru, a God, takes upon the suffering of his devotees upon to themselves. And a real devotee would not say, oh Sai, oh God, take away my troubles. A real devotee will only ask for strength, because he would not want that his karmic debt be taken over by God and God should suffer. Even though there is no suffering for God. God is all knowing, all doing, all merciful, all benevolent, and can do miracles. He is Bhagya Vidhata. He can change the destiny, and he can make or break the destiny of an individual soul. So, but Bhakti Yoga is about loving without fear, loving your Guru, loving your God intensely. And Bhakti Yoga is what Sai Baba taught his devotees. Karam Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raj Yoga. Baba also insisted on the powers of Dhyan, meditation, chanting, and reading. 9 forms of bhakti he elaborated. It culminates with the story of a bhakt who wants to go to Pandharpur, but of course, like the tradition, he comes to masjid. And Baba knows that this devotee, Baba being omniscient, knows that this devotee is coming for his permission. So even before he could step into the masjid, Baba told all his devotees, come, let's sing that song, let's sing that bhajan. Today we are going to Pandharpur, today let's go to Pandharpur, our God has called, our Lord has called to Pandharpur. So when the devotee actually starts climbing the steps of the masjid, then he listens to the song and he gets his answer. Even before he could ask the question, he got his answer, and he feels blessed that his pilgrimage will be fruitful. So this was the culmination of chapter 9, and do let me know if you're inspired to read the book. And I hope you do. I hope you cherish, absorb the principles that are expounded in this book. Please go read the book. It's a beautiful book. It's a life-changing book, and it will only take you higher, 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 and closer to God. Om Sai Ram.